Chapter 1666, Deployment of Troops. Zhang Yi listened quietly to Newton's story, and then he sighed. This world is really too magical. There are too few parts that humans can touch and understand. Then Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes and asked, "So, what happened later? I believe that with your Colombian style of doing things, it is impossible that you did not continue to explore, right?" Newton smiled rarely at this time, but the smile still looked a little cold. Of course. He didn't say more. That was the secret inside their Colombian. Reinforcements from various countries arrived one after another. The biggest supporter was naturally Colombian, followed by Fremons. Some other countries also provided support, but they did not invest in the Epsilon-level aliens who had the dominant force on the battlefield. Obviously, not every country has the strength and courage of Huashu country and Colombian. As for Barada, it was expected that they would not take action, so no one was surprised. Soon, the combat meeting was opened again, and this time, the participating organizations included people from Fremons and Colombian. In Shengjing district, Meng Yuanjun briefly described the attack that took place in Shengjing a few days ago. War will come again soon. Therefore, we don't have much time to prepare. Although there is an old saying in Huashu country that it is only possible to catch thieves for 1,000 days, but not to guard against thieves for 1,000 days. However, at present, we can only be prepared for defense at all times. At this point, he looked at Newton, Katie Les, Alexei, and others in the video conference. This may require you to stay in Huashu country for a long time. Newton raised his glasses and said lightly, "We have been prepared for this. And we also believe that this war will not take too long. Even if the mysterious civilization under Qingdao does not show up, it is only a matter of time before large-scale conflicts break out in other corners of this world." Meng Yuanjun and others did not comment on this. However, Zhang Yi agreed with Newton's words very much. From Qingdao Fog Valley to Nash Country, then Qinling Tianyuan, and the mysterious three pillars of Neon Country. Gradually, one thing was proved, that is, with the coming of the catastrophe, those ancient mysterious civilizations hidden in the dark were gradually emerging. Even if humans did not take the initiative to contact them, they would set foot on this land. The war between races is inevitable. Meng Yuanjun had been recognized by the 6 major regions at this time and became the commander-in-chief of this war. He expressed his intentions to Newton and others. During the war, military law is strict. Even the friendly forces who come to help must obey the deployment on the battlefield. I hope you will remember this. Of course, we will do our best to cooperate with your tactical arrangements. Newton agreed very happily. He has always been a person who strictly adheres to principles and neglects to make changes. This is not because he is stupid, on the contrary, it is because he is too smart. In the eyes of smart people, once everyone can follow the rules, trust each other, and have no barriers, it is the most efficient and easiest way to succeed. Alexei also nodded. The honest man from the northern country said in a deep voice, "We will act according to Huashu's plan." Meng Yuanjun nodded. "Well, then, next let's talk about the next war." As he said this, he unfolded a 3-dimensional map of Huashu in the center of the conference room. The last war covered almost the entire Huashu kingdom and the naval base of Colombia. But as far as I know, Colombia's ocean fleet has been moved, so there is no possibility that place will become the main battlefield. So, he pointed to the map, in the next war, any place in Huashu Kingdom may become the target of enemy attack. And our response plan is to use the ability of a space-related alien in Shengjing District to transport troops to various places in the entire Huashu Kingdom in real time. In this way, we can avoid the enemy concentrating superior forces to destroy one of our regions first. He said very seriously, "You should know that even the troops dispatched by the Wulwan Empire last time can directly compete with the entire Huashu Kingdom. Considering the attack on Shengjing District later, it can be judged that the strength of the Wulwan Empire is far more than what they showed last time." Zhang Yi stared at the 3-dimensional map and listened silently, with Yang Xinxin beside him. In such an occasion, Zhang Yi could not express too many opinions after all. He was not a genius at the strategic level. So most of the time he was silent, and would only speak up when he thought of a special problem. People must remember their strengths and weaknesses and let professionals do professional things. Newton raised his gold-rimmed glasses and asked slowly, "So, what if the enemy chooses to split up and attack like last time?" According to the intelligence we have obtained, the Wulwan Empire was very well prepared in the previous war, and they launched targeted attacks on various regions. Since this time, it is us humans who have taken the initiative. Have you made any tactical arrangements to deal with them? This is very important, and it is what Newton cares about the most. At the final stage of the war, the decisive factor is still people. Moreover, it has to be high-level aliens. Meng Yuanjun nodded. This is a very good question. We have conducted a comprehensive review of the last war in the past few days and made targeted tactical arrangements. The three-dimensional map changed again, and 5 silver-armored figures appeared. Their combat uniforms looked similar, but they were obviously tailor-made. A closer look could tell the difference. Meng Yuanjun said in a deep voice, "The last time the Fog Valley aliens led the team to attack all parties, the biggest threat was naturally these silver-armored aliens. According to their abilities, we gave them code names." He pointed to the aliens in the picture, and text marks appeared on the heads of the aliens. They are Sea Beast, Smoke, Giant Blade, Blood Tide, and Thunder. The silver-armored alien representing Thunder quickly dimmed. Of course, the Thunder has been killed by Chaos in the Jiangnan region. Meng Yuanjun emphasized this, and everyone's eyes naturally fell on Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi crossed his arms and had a calm expression, as if he had just done something insignificant. Chapter 1667 Chaos emerges. In the battle with Qingdao Wugu, the entire Huaxiu kingdom suffered heavy losses. Only the Jiangnan region, no, to be exact, Tianhai City, achieved a magnificent victory. Therefore, in front of the envoys of other countries, Meng Yuanjun would naturally not forget to emphasize this matter. At this time, the dignity of a great country cannot be lost. Newton looked at Zhang Yi and nodded slightly. We recognize the strength of His Excellency, Chaos. Cartier's gritted his teeth and whispered, "This kid, if we had known that he could grow to today's level, we should have killed him at the beginning." Canero couldn't help but glance at him. It's all in the past. It's better to say less in the future. After all, it's difficult for you to deal with that guy's strength. Canero has given Cartier's a lot of face. If it were someone else, he would probably say directly, "You tracked him on the sea for so long. Didn't you still fail to kill him?" Don't talk about hindsight now. Fremon's top alien, Thunder God Purin, Alexei nodded towards Zhang Yi and saluted the strong man. No matter when, people with strong strength will be recognized by others. Zhang Yi nodded slightly and returned the greeting to Newton and Alexei. Newton looked at Meng Yuanjun, his eyes returning to his usual indifference. I remember that in their combat troops, in addition to the silver-armored aliens, there are also Ypsilon-level aliens wearing black and white armor. The strength of these aliens is generally at the level of the White Chariot. According to the current situation, we can't ignore their existence. The expressions of Li Changgong, Han Shanzhua, and Xuanwu were a little subtle. Even as the foundation of a large region, they still have a certain gap from the Black Chariot. At the beginning, they took advantage of the geographical advantage and barely resisted the Fog Valley troops for a while. If they were to fight head-on, it would be hard to say whether they could win those black and white commanders. Of course, Meng Yuanjun waved his hand again, and a smaller three-dimensional image of a person appeared in front of the silver-armored stranger. They were naturally the black and white commanders. We call these aliens wearing black and white armor reinforcement system, storm, ice, and telekinesis. Meng Yuanjun opened his arms. The other side is a very rationally organized force, so the coordination between the silver armor and the black and white commanders should be fixed. Now, let us briefly introduce their combinations. Sea Beast plus Reinforcement System Deputy. Smoke plus Storm. Giant Blade plus Frost. Blood Tide plus Telekinesis. In addition, we cannot determine whether the other side will dispatch more Ypsilon-level aliens in the next battle. So, at that time, a mobile force must be left behind to provide support to various battlefields at any time. and deal with various other special situations. Zhang Yi thought about it, and then said, "In this way, the pressure we need to face is very enormous." He raised a finger, because most of our troops, the strongest aliens, must be prepared to fight the gatekeeper of the underworld. As soon as these words came out, the air at the scene seemed to become stagnant. The gatekeeper of Hades, that is a name they don't want to mention. If possible, they even hope to forget it so that that existence will not appear. But the reality is very cruel, and they can't ignore the strongest fighting force that the other party may dispatch at the moment of national survival. Meng Yuanjuan's eyes were solemn, but there was a fierce light flashing in his pupils. He said in a deep voice, "We have also arranged this." Zhang Yi spread his hands. "Please continue." Meng Yuanjun said, "First of all, we must put the main force on the battlefield to deal with the gatekeeper of Hades. At that time, the 36 Tiangang will cooperate with you to fight. And the list of people responsible for dealing with the gatekeeper of Hades Meng Yuanjun raised his head, and everyone looked at him solemnly, feeling uneasy and expectant. No one wants to face that powerful and inexplicable existence, but no one wants to be regarded as a weak person by others. Meng Yuanjuan's eyes swept over everyone present one by one. The ones who are going to fight are Chaos, Xidagarba, Ho Tu, Thunder God Purin, and Go Chun. Zhang Yi was the first to hear his name, and he was not surprised at all. He, Shang Dawen, and Ho Tu are now the top fighting forces of Huaxi State. At this time, Zhang Yi didn't know much about the existence of the National Defense Army, so he subconsciously ignored Black Emperor Zhuanxiu, a Chen Xuanba. The origin of everything was the Battle of Qingdao. Zhang Yi knew in his heart that he couldn't escape this battle and had to make a break. Even if he wanted to escape, he was too involved with Qingdao and killed too many aliens from Qingdao. Sooner or later, there will be a reckoning. Zhang Yi leaned back slightly and leaned on the sofa. The first thing in his mind was how to save his life in the next battle. He could not win. But he absolutely couldn't lose, because if he lost, he would die. At this moment, a dissatisfied voice was heard. "Why is my name not on this list?" Everyone looked in the direction the voice came from and saw a stern man in military uniform with a wide hat brim covering half of his face, speaking slowly. "This is the Black Emperor Chen Xuanba, who became known to everyone after this battle." Zhang Yi vaguely remembered that this man seemed to have the level of Black Chariot. He looked up at Meng Yuanjun. If according to the prediction, the opponent's strength is at least at the level of White Bishop or even higher, isn't it a bit rash to let only 5 of them take action? Not far away, another man's face was uncertain. That was naturally Li Changgong from the Northwest region. Hearing Meng Yuanjun say that he would take action against the gatekeeper of the underworld, it was difficult for him to be happy because his strength was recognized. Because his strength has not reached the level of Black Chariot, he will have to fight against an alien who may be 20,000 or 30,000 points higher than him. Please, if he is not careful, he will be killed by the opponent in seconds, okay? So when he heard Chen Xuanba speak, Li Changgong even expected that he could replace his place. But Meng Yuanjun just said calmly, "Black Emperor, all of this is the most appropriate arrangement we have made in order to win the next war. Don't worry. Each of you has your own mission to complete. As for the 5 people on the list, their abilities may vary in value, but they can cooperate perfectly with each other and perform better for the purpose of hunting." Chapter 1668. Not hesitating to die together. Zhang Yi and the others all subconsciously looked at Li Changgong, with a faint smile on their faces. It's really a bit cruel to let Li Changgong play that kind of high-end game. However, who made his ability so buggy? The ability to ignore all defenses and directly kill the main body is the most likely means to kill the enemy across levels. If possible, Zhang Yi even wanted to make him into a human weapon like Boss to chop people in his hand. Then, Meng Yuanjun told the others' battle plan. According to the opponent's ability characteristics, the one who will attack the coast at that time must be a combination of Sea Beast plus Reinforcement System. So, we arranged the following people to fight against it on the coast. Lord of the Ocean plus Xuanwu. Cartiers and Xuanwu looked at each other. These two old rivals in the ocean field know each other well. If they cooperate, they can indeed cooperate well. The most important thing is that they can exert more powerful power in the ocean. For example, the current Xuanwu, whose ability index is only 18,000 points, was able to hold back the silver armor of the Black Chariot level for a while during the battle in Donghai City. Understood. Okay, leave it to me. Xuanwu's expression was very serious. Katalai smiled brightly, but there was clearly fire in his eyes. He had always wanted to find a chance to get back at the last time when the naval base was destroyed and he lost face. Meng Yuanjun continued, "As for the other landing troops, we will use the space ability of Tianjia Star to carry out targeted counterattacks. Smoke plus Storm, the two brothers of Master of the Cemetery Forest, and Xidagarba will deal with it." Zhang Yi heard this and couldn't help but look up in the direction of the southwest region. Only Luo Zhuo was present at this meeting. However, according to Meng Yuanjun's meaning, Zhu Guo would also take action. When the two brothers merge, they can become the true form of the Master of the Cemetery Forest and possess the strength of the Black Chariot level. However, when the power of faith in Songjia Temple was destroyed, it was unknown how much power the two of them could exert. However, Zhang Yi knew that in the land where the Tantric culture had continued for thousands of years, even after experiencing the destruction of the end of the world, the Tantric culture still had a large number of believers. Since Meng Yuanjun made such an arrangement, he must have his reasons. Feeling Zhang Yi's gaze, Luo Zhuo also smiled and nodded at him. Meng Yuanjun continued, "And the combination of Giant Blade plus Frost." Before he finished speaking, Han Shanzua's eyes had become murderous. At the beginning, this pair of combinations killed a large number of his brothers in the northeast region and almost made him die in hatred. Then leave it to Black Emperor Xuanxiu and Luya Daojun to deal with it. You are old rivals and have had experience in fighting before. It is most appropriate for you to solve it. Okay, this is what I'm waiting for. Han Shanzua bit his silver teeth. Looking at his appearance, he couldn't wait to fight. Chun Xuanba pressed down the brim of his hat and had no objection to this arrangement. The ability of the Black and White Commander, Frost, was ice, and Luya's fire could restrain him. As for Giant Blade's silver armor, he was a good fighter in the reinforcement system. In terms of close combat ability, Chen Xuanba's military killing fist was not to be trifled with. The next is the combination of Blood Tide and Telekinesis, and Newton and Piercer will deal with it. Zhang Yi glanced at Newton, not far away. Zhang Yi did not know his ability, but it was obvious that Xingjing had intelligence about him. There must be a reason for arranging him to deal with the silver armor codenamed Blood Tide. Meng Yuanjun continued. In addition, the Ypsilon-level aliens who have not yet been assigned war missions will form a mobile force. Be ready to support various war zones at any time and respond to emergencies. This group of people are Nine Heaven's Mysterious Woman, Qiyu, the Lord of Soldiers, and Ferocious Beast Chongqi. These three people are Liang Yu, Xiaolai, and Huahua. Both of them were from Zhang Yi's camp, and both had reached the level of Ypsilon. This also made many people in the region sigh in their hearts. It was difficult for them to train an Ypsilon-level alien, but Zhang Yi had three around him, including himself. It was really annoying to compare yourself with others. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and had no objection to this arrangement. This time, he was the one who contributed the most, but when the fruits of victory were divided after the war, he would naturally take the largest share. However, there was another Ypsilon who was not mentioned, Deng Shintong. Thinking of Deng Shintong's 11,000-point ability index, Zhang Yi touched his nose and decided not to expose him for the time being. At that time, let Deng Shintong lead the Blizzard City investigation team to protect the safety of Tianhai City. After all, apart from the silver armor and the black and white commander, those captain-level blue armor warriors were not easy to deal with. Zhang Yi thought of insecticide for no reason. It was the kind of thing that was not particularly toxic, but was particularly useful in killing insects. He couldn't help but want to laugh. At this time, Deng Shintong's function was similar to that of insecticide. No one raised any objections to Meng Yuanjuan's arrangement.
C.
This arrangement is very reasonable, and it is strictly in accordance with their ability characteristics and the arrangement made for the enemy. Of course, this is just a personnel arrangement. At that time, once the war really starts, Hwashu's god of love will immediately open the launch chamber and enter the launch state at any time. His face became extremely solemn. When necessary, if we are really in an irreversible situation, we will choose to launch the god of love. At this time, Newton raised his glasses and stared at Meng Yuanjun tit for tat. I support this very much. But when to use the god of love, it needs to be decided by us frontline fighters. We don't want to be abandoned by the rear while we are still fighting on the front line. Meng Yuanjun said in a deep voice, Sir Newton, please rest assured. On this battlefield, all the high-level combat power of the entire Hwashu country has been gathered. We will not make such a big sacrifice to target you. Newton folded his arms and said nothing. Zhang Yi's heart moved.
Die.
Together? This is indeed the most unsolvable approach. But is it possible that there will be a better choice?
He didn't speak.
Everyone was making their own calculations in their hearts. Okay, if there are no problems, then this combat meeting ends here. Please confirm your comrades and formulate your combat strategies reasonably. War may come at any time. Chapter 1669 Ultraviolet Intolerance. After the meeting, Zhang Yi contacted Meng Yuanjun immediately. Hundun, what do you want to talk to me about? Meng Yuanjun asked with a curious smile. He valued Zhang Yi very much. Now that the war was imminent, he had to take good care of this top fighter. Zhang Yi smiled and asked, Marshal Meng just said that if we fail to stop the attack of the Wulwan Empire in this battle, we will use the god of death of love to perish with them, right? Meng Yuanjun looked helpless, and he sighed. There is no way. If we don't do that, what awaits us will be the destruction of the country and the extinction of the race. Zhang Yi nodded, I understand. In other words, even if all the high-level aliens in the entire Hwashu kingdom die in battle, at least the fire of ordinary people can be preserved. Is that what you mean? Meng Yuanjun heard that Zhang Yi didn't want to sacrifice, and he hurriedly said, I don't want you to die. But when it comes to that step, we have no better choice. He patted his chest with his hand and said seriously, do you think we want to sacrifice you and live on? No, chaos. If that day really comes, I won't live either. Zhang Yi shook his head, and his entanglement was not here. There is nothing wrong with what you said. If it really comes to that time, this may be the only way to solve the problem. Just kidding. What does it have to do with him? Once the top management decides to use the god of death of love, he will flee immediately. I just have another opinion. Zhang Yi rubbed his nose, with a fierce expression on his face. It was night time, and Zhang Yi was sitting on the sofa, with half of his face in the blind spot of a light. Such an expression gave people the feeling of a hellish devil. What do you mean? Meng Yuanjun swallowed subconsciously. He felt that Zhang Yi was going to say something shocking. Zhang Yi said calmly, if Hwashu kingdom is destroyed, then there is no need for this world to exist. And the god of death of love cannot penetrate the 10,000 meters of land to attack the mainland of Wulwan Empire. So, I suggest that once we find that the situation is not right, we will find it difficult to resist the attack of Wulwan Empire. Then just open all the launch bays of the god of death of love and aim at other countries with top combat power but standing idly by. Zhang Yi snapped his fingers and said with a smile, for example, Barada, which is close at hand. Then just tell them directly that if something happens to Hwashu kingdom, drag them to hell together. Then they will only have two choices, either send troops to support or bear a large number of god of death of love from Hwashu kingdom. Anyway, it's a matter of life and death. There is no need to think so much. Pulling everyone into the water together is the best choice. After listening to Zhang Yi's words, Meng Yuanjun's eyes widened, and he couldn't calm down for a long time. He looked Zhang Yi up and down, feeling like he was facing a living devil. This move was indeed too cruel. Zhang Yi smiled and said, I hope you will remember this suggestion. Zhang Yi pointed to his head with his index finger. If it really comes to that, I hope you will do as I say. Otherwise, Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes slightly and sighed. I will be very disappointed, but I will give up everyone and run away by myself. If you don't use the advice I gave you, it would be stupid to sacrifice yourself for peace. Zhang Yi couldn't command Meng Yuanjun, but he could choose to be alone. Meng Yuanjun frowned deeply, thinking about the feasibility of Zhang Yi's plan. Soon, he made a decision in his heart. Instead of sacrificing all the senior aliens in the entire Huashu kingdom to eliminate the living forces of the Wulwan Empire, it is better to drag all the powerful countries into the water. After all, once all the senior aliens are killed in battle, the power of the Huashu kingdom will be greatly reduced. At that time, so many covetous forces around will definitely invade this land. Okay, I promise you. When that moment comes, I will do it. Meng Yuanjun said solemnly. Zhang Yi nodded with satisfaction. That would be the best. After ending the communication, Meng Yuanjun sat on the chair, tapping the armrest unconsciously. He was struggling, hesitating, and at the same time worried about the war that would break out at any time. I hope everything will go well. After Zhang Yi ended the communication, he lay down on the sofa. His shelter was warm and luxurious. There was a charming smell of rice from the kitchen. It was Yang Xia making him a midnight snack. On the other side of the fireplace, the fat body of the big chinchilla lay on a palm-thick blanket, snoring, and a frog holding a half bottle of grass in its hand leaned on it. Everything was so warm. But the more beautiful things are, the easier they are to be destroyed. And there was only one thing Zhang Yi could do now, and that was to wait. He closed his eyes and silently waited for news from others. The next morning, Zhang Yi was eating breakfast when he suddenly heard Zhou Ke's excited voice. Zhang Yi, I figured it out. The lizardman's body is indeed suitable for ultraviolet rays, are very intolerant. Zhang Yi threw away the spoon in his hand when he heard this, and then went straight to the underground laboratory. He opened the door of the laboratory and saw Zhou Ke in white clothes staring at the test bench in front of him with a serious face, but there was excitement in her eyes. With the ability of Doctor, she can work for a long time without sleep. In order to crack the secrets of the lizard man's body, she has not closed her eyes for several days. Zhang Yi couldn't bear it in his heart and wanted her to take a rest before working, but she shook her head gently and refused. Everyone knew that time was running out. The next round of attack from the Wulwan Empire could come at any time. They had to race against time. Zhou Ke took off her mask and showed a gentle smile on her face. After many experiments, the cells of the lizard people are indeed extremely sensitive to ultraviolet rays. Ordinary light sources will not affect them, but when the intensity reaches a certain level, roughly equivalent to the level of sunlight at noon in May, these cells will become abnormal and their activity will be greatly reduced. Zhang Yi didn't quite understand these, but after seeing the experimental pictures Zhou Ke provided him, he knew that in the next war, they had a better chance of winning. Pass this message to everyone immediately. In addition, we need very powerful ultraviolet weapons. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes, and suddenly a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Maybe we already have a very good idea. Chapter 1670. Evolution of the Sword in the Tree. In order to fight against the invasion of the Wulwan Empire that could come at any time, everyone is doing their best to prepare. Li Changgong locked himself in the martial arts training ground every day, practicing his sword skills that would kill with one strike. He knew that even if his strength was the weakest in the five-man team, if he really faced the terrible gatekeeper of the underworld, he would have to risk his life to cut that knife. No one dared to relax. Under the threat of a powerful civilization, anyone could die in the next war. The morning light was dim. A farmland in the Qingpu base was as bright as before. At this time, the farmland did not grow any crops, and large tracts of fertile land were just waiting for cultivation and sowing. Suddenly, the ground shook slightly, and grains of fertile soil like sand slowly slid down. When I looked carefully, I found that there was a person buried in the soil. Li Jian had buried his body here for a long time. In order to help cultivate the sword in the tree, he completely turned himself into a vegetable during this period. The increase in his ability index has greatly improved his abilities. Now he is almost like Boss. He can blend himself into the soil to make the land fertile and absorb nutrients from the earth, and repeat this cycle. This is the way of the earth's vitality. The door of the cultivation room was opened, and Zhang Yi walked in from outside. He immediately noticed where Li Jian was, so he walked along the ridge of the field. Zhang Yi squatted down, looked at the man who buried himself in the soil, and asked softly, "Did it succeed?" A pair of black eyes appeared in the soil. The soil slid down, and Li Jian's body slowly emerged from the soil. He was naked, like an old vine that had grown underground for many years. "Success, Your Excellency." Li Jian's voice was hoarse. His body was almost dry because of cultivating the sword in the tree, but his tone was filled with joy that was difficult to conceal. "Thank you," Zhang Yi said very sincerely. Li Jian suddenly opened his mouth with a wow and spit out a green vine from his mouth. The vine stretched his mouth and quickly came out. A vigorous vitality instantly emerged in the entire cultivation room. In the entire cultivation room, the plant seeds buried in the soil grew rapidly, broke through the soil, grew, bloomed, and blossomed. The extremely rich breath of life filled the entire space. Zhang Yi smelled this breath and felt much more comfortable. The green vine came out of Li Jian's body. Zhang Yi walked over and grabbed the vine in his hand. Soon, the green vine covered Zhang Yi's arm. A large number of nanorobots were implanted inside the sword in the tree, and it changed its shape rapidly. Sometimes it was a bracelet wrapped around Zhang Yi's arm, and sometimes it was like a small snake wandering around his body. It was vines and branches, and it was like flowing water. Zhang Yi could feel the evolution of the sword in the tree. After receiving the life support from the source of God and Li Jian, it had opened its gene lock and reached the level of Ypsilon. Zhang Yi only had a thought, and it wrapped around Zhang Yi's arm, then stuck to his arm tightly and began to absorb Zhang Yi's power. Li Jian's body could not satisfy it. Only Zhang Yi's superpowers were its favorite sweetness. After connecting with the sword in the tree, Zhang Yi could clearly feel that it had grown vigorously at this time. It was tougher and stronger. Zhang Yi waved his right hand, and the vines of the sword in the tree immediately twisted and condensed, and then suddenly turned into a huge silver sword. Zhang Yi directly opened the dimensional door and came to the outside world. He looked around and landed in an abandoned steel plant. Then he gently raised his arm, placed the silver sword on the wall of the steel plant, and gently swiped it. Without using any superpowers, just relying on the strength of the sword and the tree itself, it turned out that cutting the thick concrete wall was like cutting tofu. The strength has undergone earth-shaking changes. The most important thing is that it can carry my power. A dark and deep color flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. The power of the void spread to the sword in the tree like a tide, instantly turning it into a huge black knife. The tip of the knife just lightly touched the void in front of it. Pop! In an instant, the entire abandoned steel plant in front of him disappeared directly on the spot, and only a huge circular tianqing was left on the snow. Very good. This is a weapon worthy of my current strength. Zhang Yi's mouth curled up with a satisfied smile. The sword in the tree has the ability to regenerate infinitely and has the tenacious properties of plants. Its defense is extremely strong, and its harassment ability is even more unsolvable. Now it has reached the level of Ypsilon and can carry all of Zhang Yi's power. The destructive power will also reach an unimaginable level. This kind of power is an effect that no weapon can bring. Now you can do both offense and defense. Boss, although you are dead, you will always live in my hands and fight with me. This is your honor. Zhang Yi's mouth curled up with an evil smile. Of course, Boss no longer existed at this time, and only the sword in the tree with plant instincts remained. The black branches seemed to be responding to Zhang Yi's words, climbing up his body gently, and the branches intertwined densely, turning into a plant armor. Is this vine armors? Zhang Yi was shocked. He didn't expect that after the evolution of the sword in the tree, it would have such a function. In the past, he never considered using the sword in the tree as armor. Because the branches of the sword in the tree are easily broken, it is mainly used to harass the enemy, rather than the main means of attack and defense. But now, after it broke through to Ypsilon, it absorbed Zhang Yi's energy, causing itself to reach an incredible level in both offense and defense. The armor formed in this way is even more defensive than the Qianlong armor that Liu Karen built for him. Today's Zhang Yi is really 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside, full of technology and hard work. The innermost layer is a close-fitting black battle suit built in combination with the combat uniform technology of the Jiangnan region. In the middle is the exoskeleton armor built by Liu Karen using the new E-metal material and her powerful mechanical technology. On the outside, the Qianlong armor is fitted with the vines of the sword in the tree, forming a layer of vine armor like a coat. The defense is fully maximized. Zhang Yi raised the sword in the tree in his hand and whispered, "Now I am fully prepared for the battle. Gatekeeper of the underworld, will you come?" He looked into the distance, which was the direction of the sea. Zhang Yi took a deep breath and then slowly exhaled. "You'd better not show up."